Welcome back to Kay's in the Garden. I'm Kay, and this is my garden. Okay, so for February's garden tour, we're going to take a look at everything and see how it all panned out after the freeze. I think here in Zone 9A, we got down to the lowest temperature, I think, during this week or so span was in the low 20s. I think we may have gotten down to 20 degrees one night, or maybe a couple nights, but for the most part, we stayed in the upper 20s, the low 30s. And today we are actually 55 degrees. I've uncovered everything, and you guys are going to take a look with me for the first time and see how well we did. Let's go take a look. Let's start in the main garden. Before we get started in the garden, I wanted to explain we had 2 rounds of low temperatures. So the first round came in on Friday, last Friday, Saturday really, and then stayed Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then it warmed up just a tad bit, but I left the beds covered because I knew we were having round 2 on this past Friday, Saturday, I believe. I left the beds covered the entire time because there's no need to uncover them and then cover them back up. So let's take a look. As we go through the garden, I'll explain what was covered and what was not covered, what's damaged, and what looks like it will be fine. On this first bed to the right, we have the cabbages. I did have it covered with that purple blanket. I took the blanket off after the first freeze, and so the second freeze that happened this past Friday, Saturday, they were uncovered, but as you can see, they are doing just fine, and they're actually starting to bulb up. So the cabbages look great. And there's the onions here along the front of the bed. I didn't have those covered very much. I think I had the ones to the right here covered, but the ones on the end there, they were not under the cover. The Malabar spinach, the purple seeds / berries, I actually harvested some of those off. I'll put a picture here. I had a basket full of those. I was going to see if I can save them for seeds or grow them again. But I don't think I'm going to need to because a lot of the seeds fell in the bed here, and I think it's going to self-seed itself for the spring. So we'll see how that goes. But the remainder of them, I don't know if you can tell, there's like little berry seeds all over the ground. So I need to get those up because I don't want Malabar spinach growing in like those corners. We're going to move back to the broccoli bed. This bed I did not cover. I have 2 broccoli beds, and I did not feel like I needed to keep both of them, so I did not cover this broccoli bed. I do have lots of damage. Bring you in a little bit. As you can see on these leaves here, there's lots of browning. That's where it got too cold or where there was frost on it. Now, though there's still a lot of green on this leaf, it's not, I wouldn't eat this. I would have left this plant because it will continue to grow side shoots, but you can see right where it's fallen, that's frost damage, and that right there will not come back. So for the most part, I'm probably going to I'll cut this down and clear this out of the bed. But some of the other plants look just fine. I'll probably clean them. Oh, that's part of that plant. But this one here, I mean, yes, there's some damage, but if I left that, it will have side shoots. And if I move this one out of the way, it probably will get a lot more sunlight and actually produce a lot more side shoots. If you notice on this plant, you can see here there's lots of damage on those leaves, but there are some broccoli shoots on these plants, but for the most part, I think it did just fine without being covered. There's one back here that actually looks great. And again, this bed was not covered. It probably got a little bit of shelter from some of these larger leaves that was hanging over it. There were some cheddar cauliflower on this side of the bed, but if you notice, it got a lot of damage. Cauliflower is very sensitive to the cold. So I'm going to pull those on that side. That side, those are broccoli plants that were just fine. I'll clean up some of those leaves. We're on the opposite side of that same bed, but look at those broccoli shoots already. I was leaving this one because it's already started to flower, and I was going to see if I can get some seeds from this one. But it actually has a lot of damage on this one. So I'm not quite sure if I'm going to keep it. But no rush. No rush at all. Lots of damage on that plant. But again, not too bad, especially since we're at the end of brassica season. So the last bed behind me here is, I also have broccoli amongst the other things in this bed. This bed was completely covered, and as you can see, it did just fine. Even some of the broccoli shoots on here actually looks really good, like no damage at all. This plant I harvested right before the freeze, before we covered the bed. I'm going to pull this one up, though there's no damage to it and it would produce side shoots. It's pretty much, I mean, it has one leaf on it. So we'll probably go ahead and just pull this up and just start making some room. We have some cabbages in this bed. It looks like some damage. I don't know if this is pest damage or why it's growing like this. Let me zoom you in. If you've ever seen this happen to your cabbage, let me know. Look how that's growing. I don't know. We'll clean up some of these dead leaves along the bottom, but the last two on the end actually are producing a head. This one's actually a little bit larger. That's already a nice firm head. The carrots, the onions in this bed are just fine. That's garlic along the back, but the carrots look great. Everything looks good in this bed. The comfrey wasn't covered, and it looks like it's had better days. But I'll clean all that up, add it into some water for compost and for comfrey tea, and it should be fine. Our mystery tree in the back there looks like it took a lot of damage, but we'll clean those beds up and grow back alley and get it ready for spring. There's going to be indeterminate tomatoes in those grow bags. In this bed, moving over to the left side, we had most of our greens. This is a Brussels sprout. As you can see, it's starting to form a little Brussels sprouts. I don't know if you can see that. But I'm going to come back and harvest some of these greens to give room. They say it's best when you start seeing the Brussels sprouts forming, that you can start pulling that off to give it more room for the Brussels sprouts to grow. But I didn't cover this, and it actually looks great. I did cover the collard greens along the back row, and there is some kohlrabi in this section here, so I will show you those when we get around to the other side a little bit closer. And in the back section there is my elephant garlic, and it looks great. I did not cover the garlic. Okay, let me show you on this side. I have Georgia collard greens, and it looks like we had some damage on the leaves. This was not covered. This side of the bed was not covered, and there's some damage. But for the most part, we have some nice green leaves down there at the bottom. So that looks like that'll be fine. Same over here on this. There's some damage on this leaf. Lots of damage. You can see, let me move this big one out of the way. Lots of damage on that leaf, but the plant itself still looks great. Now, one of the things I've learned is when you have damage on your leaves from a frost, if it's not completely dead and brown and dried out, just leave it. Just leave it on there for a little bit, let the plant recover, let it grab a lot of the sun rays and try to, repair itself. So don't be so quick to pull these off. Now that one I'll probably go ahead and pull off because it has a lot of damage. But as far as my collard, a little weak. I think it just needs a little sunlight. They've been covered for about a week. So I'm expecting those to perk back up. So those are not too bad. This one here, a little, sorry for the shadows, guys, but it's bright and sunny today. But those look pretty good. I think they'll just need a couple days to bounce back. And I won't add any fertilizer because you want to allow them a little bit of time to kind of recoup and kind of get past the frost and the freeze. In about a week or maybe next weekend, I will fertilize. You don't want to kickstart them back into growth. This comfrey plant here looks a little better than the other one, but it wasn't covered, but it looks like it did have a little damage. Okay, the kohlrabi on this side. This one looks nice and it's a good size and ready to harvest. I think these two may be stunted, but I mean, they're still large enough to harvest. But that's a small kohlrabi. I'll probably let them stay in a little longer. I actually started more kohlrabi plants and I just up potted them. So we'll probably be adding more kohlrabi to this bed soon. Swinging you around to the onion bed. They look great. So I did have the onions covered. I wasn't expecting to, but I decided to go ahead and cover them. And they look great. And at the end of February, what I will be doing is taking each onion and I will be cutting the greens back because it will start the bulbing process. I do want to bring you guys in a little closer. Let's take a look at some of these onions. Some of these are actually, let's see if I can, there's so many greens. I don't know if it's easy for you to see that, but some of these are pretty large already. That's going to be a nice onion. So what I'll do is when I come back and cut back, this is called spooning. I'll start bringing some of the soil from around the onion so that this bulb can start getting larger without any resistance from the soil. And so when I made those trenches, I'll start moving that soil more into those trenches, giving these bulbs room to bulb up. So can you guys see those two? Those are really nice. And I might try to see if I can get some of these weeds out the way too. This is the cauliflower bed, and we actually did have it covered. Cauliflower is very sensitive to the cold, and as you can see here, even though it was covered, some of the top leaves did get some damage. But let's take a look at the cauliflower. So we left these because they had not started forming a head, but as you can see here, I do have some cauliflower growing in there, and I like that these leaves are twisting around it, so I'm going to try to put that back. Try to protect that cauliflower. The smaller ones here, I didn't have those covered very much. I do have some stalks here that still need to be pulled up from ones that I've already harvested, but we were testing out on some of those smaller ones just to see how they would make out. You can see there is a cauliflower forming in there, and I do have some dark spots on it, which is fine. I can cut those off, but that's probably from the frost. And then same with this one, lots of greens, but so you can see some damage. Both of these cauliflowers were covered. And then at the end of this bed is the celery. It does look as if it needs a little fertilizing. It's kind of a yellowy tint, but it was not covered, and it looks like it's doing okay. I just have some dead leaves along the side, but for the most part, it looks good. Okay, we have our kale bed here in the front. The kale was not covered. It looks like it did great. Behind it is the snapdragons, which really need to be cleaned up. I need to cut those back. And probably soon, because I believe we might start warming up. And so I do want them to have some fresh growth. But our kale, which I've never harvested, is looking great. This is one collard that I said I was going to pull, but it just keeps growing. The leaves aren't really getting that big, but it doesn't really matter. They're still edible. I just need to clean up the leaves a little bit. This is mint here, and let's see, this is orange mint, and it's actually doing fine. Behind that is our carrot bed, and maybe one row of onions right in here. And we're going to harvest these soon because they've seen better days. I have some really good carrots that I've harvested out of here, but I'm kind of hit or miss with my carrots because I always plant them too heavy. So whatever I get, I'm always happy about that. I don't use a lot of carrots throughout the year, so I don't really need to preserve a lot. Let's look over here at our spinach. Now I have two sections, really three sections of spinach. I wanted to show you a little bit up close. Can you see that leaf? It's funny because it almost looks kind of shimmery, but really that's frost damage. So the frost that gets onto the leaf actually destroys the leaf. And that's what it starts to look like before it actually dies off. Turns brown and dies off. You can see the back of the leaf doesn't look that bad in comparison to the front. But that's what frost damage looks like at an earlier stage. Then when it starts to die, it starts to look more like that. Our bok choy here just looks like it needs some fertilizing. It's a little yellow. It was not covered. Our lilies died back, which that's expected. It's a bulb. They're perennial. They will grow back. I'm just going to cut those down off the top where the soil. I won't pull them up because there's a bulb. One of the things that I'm the most sad about is the Swiss chard. I thought Swiss chard was a little bit more frost tolerant. To be honest with you, they're not all dead. As you can see, there's quite a few. Let me zoom in a little bit. There's quite a few leaves that are nice and green. So I'll still have some Swiss chard, but most of it has died. I'll give you a sneak peek of the spinach on this side. Pretty much the same as the other side. We'll go through and clean out some of the frost damage. I do have one that looks like it's starting to go to seed right here. And that's fine because it'll give me lots of spinach seeds for next fall. We're going to move over to the side of the house where there's not much going on, but let's take a look. You know, we had the mustard greens in this bed. The flowers are all died out. I did this without you guys, but I planted beets in this bed. We'll see how that turns out. I think it was beets. I also planted something in that bed. One bed has beets and the other one, I believe, has lettuce. Maybe this bed has lettuce and the other bed has beets, but I thought I can get a quick harvest out of that. We harvested the potatoes already out of those two beds, so they are empty. This is the Brussels sprouts. I do need to get some of the greens off of those, but let me see if I can show you the Brussels sprouts. Can you see? There are definitely Brussels sprouts on those. Definitely Brussels sprouts on there. So I do want to come back and pull some of these greens off to allow those to get larger. This cauliflower, I don't think it's going to make it. Lots of damage. I didn't cover anything on this side. Lots of damage on the leaves. And it looks like there's damage on that cauliflower in there. So I don't think that cauliflower is going to make it. I'm going to pull it. These are some of the purple gem, I think, Brussels sprouts. This one down here. And it's stunted. I don't think it was getting enough sunlight. There's also another one back behind there, if you can see it over there. The cabbages look pretty good. Just some damage on the outer layer, especially this one here. But this one looks like, I mean, it's fine. It's just leaning over. So I'll probably harvest it. There's some damage on the leaves. This is the one that we've already harvested, and we were trying to see what was going to happen. They're not forming a head, but those leaves will make a nice side dish. The purple acre cabbage looks like it's starting to form a head. I think they just take a lot longer to form a head, but I didn't cover again anything on this side of the house. But those cabbages look just fine. I finally pulled the opal basil and the marigolds, and so we have the garlic that's here and along the edge of the bed. Looks like they all did fine. I have some more cabbage down here on this end. This red cabbage looks great. It's a little bit further along than the other two. This cabbage down here, starting to form a head, but I think once I move these out of the way, it may move a little faster. Same thing with this cauliflower. I harvested the head off of this cauliflower. Some of these leaves look great. I might harvest some of these to mix in with those collard greens and Brussels sprout leaves. And I have a couple more cabbages in the back that look just fine. You were with me when we harvested the turnips. We haven't put anything in this bed. We did bury some of the greens, as you can see right here, and we're just letting those compost in place. You were also with me when we harvested out the potatoes from these two bags. Along the fence here, we have a little bit more shade on this side. This is more spinach. We have the red vein sorrel. We also have the lacinato kale. I mean, it's not dead. It looks pretty good, actually. Now, the one in the back here looks like it took more damage than the one in the front, but there is some new growth, so it should be fine. I also have a red kale here that did just fine. It's not really growing very much, but maybe if I harvest some of the leaves, it will grow. This was pak choy and some mustard greens. We harvested before the freeze, but that's going to be taken all up. And this bed will be cleared out ready for spring. I won't plant anything else in here. We even had some rutabaga on the end that never did anything. I'll pull these up and let them compost in place, but it never formed anything. I've never grown rutabaga, so I even have, I'm trying to remember the flower that I planted in here, but it looks like it's starting to grow back. If I remember the name, I'll put it up here. In these containers, we will have the dwarf tomatoes. And then in these two beds, that's where we have flowers. I usually plant the Mexican sunflowers in here or zinnias. So when we get ready to plant flowers for the spring, we'll come and clean these beds up, these three. Again, I did plant either lettuce. Oh, I planted lettuce in this bed. I can see the tags. And I actually see some of the seeds actually starting to germinate. I also have lettuce that I started in the house. So wherever lettuce does not germinate, I will add those in this bed. Now this bed, I actually have potatoes in this bed. And I came out here just to show someone how potatoes grow, and I pulled the tops that had died back off. And I started pulling up some of the potatoes. At the end of this video, I will come back and finish harvesting these. So you can see there's some just under the soil here. I'll come and get those. But there's potatoes in this bed. I'll post a picture here of the final results of what I get. Let's move over to the other side of the garden over here. Before we head there, let's look at this bed. We brought back from the garage our cherry tree. We have our rosemary, which I did not cover. We have 2 rose bushes on each side that I do need to trim back within the next week or 2. And we have our dahlia that I'll need to cut back. And a few other. We have lavender. But this is where the roselle plants will be planted in the spring and the summer. And they will get just as tall as that fence, if not taller. We brought back our lemon tree and our pomegranate tree from the garage. We have our turnips, and they actually did great. This bed was completely covered. I removed the bell peppers that we had on each corner. I usually don't harvest the greens, but these greens actually look pretty good. Big few of the turnips in there. I'm not quite sure if you guys can see that. We have a lot of greenery. Some turnips are larger than others, but I think they may bub up just nice now that the cold temps are behind us. Now, I will tell you these turnips were planted with the Haas seed strip. So it's just a strip of fabric that has the seeds in them. So you just slightly bury the strip, and it has the spacing and everything needed for that particular plant. We're going to move over to this side. I covered my aloe vera plant, and then after the first round of low temperatures, and then my husband uncovered it, and it didn't get recovered for the second round. So we do have some damage, but I'll just wait a few weeks, and then I will come back and trim those ends off. That happened last year, and the plant grew back just fine. So we'll be okay with aloe vera. In this bed, we have the blue salvias that look fine. The flowers actually died back, but the plant itself is fine. I did not cover this bed. My snow peas did not make it. That's okay. My comfrey, which is self-seeded itself over in this bed, is doing great. Though I do not want it over here, and I'll have to dig this up. I do believe this side is going to either be cucumbers or pole beans. I'm not quite sure yet. But I do need to clean up the weeds in this bed. I've kind of let it go. And the garlic here on this side looks great. Again, this side was not covered. I'm going to swing you around and let you see the blackberry bush. It looks fine. I mean, we've never covered this during the winter time. Some of the leaves have taken a hit from the cold temperatures, but we do still have a lot of greenery. We had some damage on those berries, but that looks like a new set of growth. Nice greenery here. So these will be fine. This will bounce back. And in a blink of an eye, we will have this section full of blackberries. I did cover the raspberries. They look like they came out just fine. The fig tree was in the garage. All the leaves fell off of it, which is fine. We have some nice buds on the tip of them, so that looks like this will be fine. I'm going to be planting this in the ground on the other side of the house where we have the kale. I want this to be in the ground. I've had this fig tree for probably 2 years, and I have not gotten one fig off of this tree. If you know what I'm doing wrong with this fig tree, please let me know. I think I may need to trim some of those branches back, but all the tips look like they have the buds, which means it's going to have great growth. I always get leaves, I always get growth, just no figs. So let me know if I do need to up pot this to maybe one of the larger pots like this, or if I can just, do I need to put it in the ground? Do I need another fig tree? Does it have to have another fig tree for it to produce figs? What am I doing wrong with that fig tree? Over here on this side of the house, I went ahead and up potted my blueberries. So I actually have 5 blueberry plants. I've transferred these 4. I have 2 pink lemonade, and I have 1 that I'm not quite sure that is my best producer, and I have a premier blueberry. And I made a small mistake. I was going to put 1 pink lemonade in each bed. I do hear that you should have different varieties, but I feel like they're close enough that I didn't want to have to dig this one back up to move it again. So I just left it. We'll see. If I have to do that next year, I will. But I think we should be fine. I did not cover them, and they did. Looks, I've already kind of checked them. They look like they're doing fine. I even feel like I have some growth a little bit on this one. As you can see, there's some leaves on it already, and that wasn't there. Now this pot is where I'm going to up pot my 5th blueberry, and I'm going to up pot it into this pot. I just hadn't gotten around to it, but I'm definitely ready. So I have my soil, I have my compost, and I have my Pro Mix that I am getting ready to start preparing the beds. And I'll bring you guys along as we start adding fertilizer, compost to the beds, preparing them for our spring planting. I even have some pine bark, which we will add to the blackberry bush. We'll mulch the blackberry bush, and I also use pine bark when I mulch the roselle when we add it to the bed over there. I save the green stalks for last because I'm just going to show you from these 2, because every green stalk for the most part has garlic planted in them. Now the garlic has lots of growth, and they seem a little droopy, I guess you can say, but they're still nice and green, so there's no frost damage to them. On this green stalk, you can see there is some damage on some of them, but for the most part, it's doing just fine. There's even a little new growth here from the center. So some of that dieback is expected, but I don't think this is from the frost. But again, the most part, they're all doing fine. And that's pretty much how all of the garlic looks in all of the beds. These pansies were troopers through the freeze. I did not cover any other green stalks. And in this bed, in the top row, I have onions. I planted those pretty late, but this onion is, I must had it directly in the sun. It's taken off. And I have this here is, these 4 compartments is cilantro. And cilantro is cold hardy. I did not cover those. There's a little damage, a little bit more on this one, but those will grow back just fine. I'll get a great harvest of cilantro as it warms up a little bit. Last but not least, I have my avocado tree that I planted from seed from an avocado that I just purchased at the grocery store. And I had that avocado in the garage. In a few weeks, I will up pot that to a larger container. Avocados do not like their roots to start touching the bottom. I've started several avocado seeds, and they've always germinated. But when it got a little bit smaller than that, they would die off. Well, I found out I wasn't up potting it fast enough. And so I started up potting it pretty frequently. If you can see here, I even have some new growth coming on. I don't know if you can see, there's some new growth right there. But it did get a little damage. I was late putting it in the garage. There is some damage, but for the most part, it's fine. Nice healthy stem, and I think it's loving being out of the garage. So fingers crossed on our avocado. Oh, I want to show you one more thing. The herb green stalk. Though it doesn't look its best, it's not too bad. This is sage. There's a lot of damage. You see those are some dried leaves. But there's also quite a few, even though there's some new growth here, some fresh leaves. So the ones that were damaged will dry up and fall off, and that's fine. But for the most part, the sage is looking good. The carrots in here are fine. I'm not sure how well the carrots are doing in here, but probably planted them a little heavy. I did pull a few carrots, but I'll give it a little bit longer to continue to grow. Let's see. This is what happens when you plant your carrots too close together. These carrots are really close together. And then so you get a really nice carrot, but the other ones around it suffer. They won't grow. So nice carrot here. Carrots do not like their roots disturbed, but we're going to experiment. I'm going to replant these back in the soil and see what happens. And remind me, guys, it's the one that has the sign, the new Corota carrot. Let's see how it turns out. And then my garlic chives, they were not covered. They took kind of a hit, but they're not dead. This one as well, that's garlic chives. But this garlic chive, there's 3 beds, 3 pockets with garlic chives. This one doesn't look as bad, but I do believe they will bounce back. Our snapdragon along the top, they need to just be cut back like the other snapdragons. And then I have these flowers. I can't remember the name of these, but we're gonna take those out. Okay, guys, that's the end of the video. I want to thank you very much for hanging in there with me as we took a look at the garden after the freeze. I'm happy with how things turned out. Tell me, how did your garden do during the freeze? Did you cover? Did you not cover? And how did it turn out? As we continue to prepare for spring, take a look at some of the previous videos where I've started seeds. We've been up potting our seeds, and next we'll start fertilizing, and hopefully before you know it, we'll be out in the garden planting. If you have not had an opportunity to like the video, please do, share with a friend, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you are notified whenever I upload a new video. Let's grow together. Bye-bye.